In the exam may ask what is the condition for the individual tracker to work in case of this question. So what is the condition for the individual tracker to work? The individual tracker to work should have the count of C, which is your set of attributes, equal to 1. If the count of C was equal to 0, well then your entire individual tracker attack will not be able to work. The count of C is the set of the the attributes which identify a particular record. It should be one record. In this case here, Eve is identified by male and bio and 1979, and this is here one record. So if you do the count, this is just here one record. You get this record, and that is the condition for the tracker to work. Now after you have determined that Eve or that record is uniquely identified by C, this will be a positive compromise. In case of a positive compromise, then you can decompose your query and do count C and then determine an additional attribute. You want to prove that D belongs to C. Does D belong to the uniquely identified record C? Now you have two cases, either 0 or 1. You cannot get anything else. And one here is the count should be the count. 1 is the same as the count of C, and the count of C should always be 1. We need to emphasize on the fact that the count C should be 1. Now in case of getting 0, then this would be a negative compromise, and in case of a negative compromise, then the attribute D does not belong to the record C. If in case of 1 positive compromise, then D would belong to C. Now in case of this question, now the count, so with the individual tracker, it is just a yes or no question. Just yes or no, is it true or false? And so is Eve identified by C? If Eve was identified by C and the count was equal to 1, then you are able to carry out this question. If the count was 0 based on the table, then you should never carry out this question. The second question should be discarded, and you must specify the reason why you've discarded this question. But if count C was equal to 1, then you will need to do a count C, and then prove that his SAT score is greater than or equal to 600. If it is 0, then his SAT score is lower. If it is 1, then it is true. And refer to the previous video where we explain how to answer this question. I'd like to show you this image again for your C on A to work. So for your unique record to determine whether A belongs to C, condition is to have the C out equal to 1. These are the formulas for the individual tracker. If it gives 0, then A doesn't have the characteristic. If it gives the value of 1 equivalent to C, count of C, then this is a positive compromise. A quick summary of the individual tracker. The individual tracker is where you split the knowledge into two parts, C1 and C2, and then you create the tracker. The tracker is going to be C1 and not C2, while C1 will be the entire set, C2 will be the other set, and the overlap is going to be C, where again C is equal to 1. For this to work, C must be equal to 1. C must be equal to 1. Then what they can do is that your C is equal to C1 equal to C1 minus T. This means that to find C and overcome the query restriction, you make a query to find C1. Then your second query is finding T. And then you will subtract the result in order for you to get C1. That is how we use the individual tracker to overcome the query size restriction.